Hi, Bob, can you shut the door for me? Since you're... Okay, good. Thanks, man. Morning, councillors. I recognise there's a quorum, so I call to order council meeting number 827. As per usual, we'll start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, grant that we who would seek to serve you may have the wisdom of your Spirit, the guiding of your hand, and the grace to serve together for the prosperity of our city, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please be seated. Item 1, attendance and apologies. Councillor Peter Young did phone. He'll be here shortly. So we'll wait till he gets here, but meanwhile we'll carry on. 2, leave of absence, nil. Condolences, I go to Councillor Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a difficult one, but on behalf of the city, I would like to do the next first, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
The Minute Secretary has another up, but...
Seconder, Councillor Owen Jones.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would move that a motion of condolence be passed and a message of sympathy sent to the Schneider family on the passing of Matthew Schneider. Across the city, Mr. Mayor, many of us have been deeply affected by the tragic passing of our friend Matthew Schneider. Apart from being a great human being, Matt was a prominent and highly respected member of our Gold Coast community and someone that everyone in this room knew. Matt was a passionate Gold Coaster whose love for the city and the community was undeniable. Though he was highly successful in his role as a director of Urbis Gold Coast, Matt was more broadly an invaluable city leader and advocate. He was enthusiastically involved in a wide range of ventures, policy development, sport, events, education, the arts and community initiatives right across the Gold Coast. He was everywhere, supporting our city. The list is long, and Matt's notable roles included President of Southport Sharks. He was a director on the Placemakers Board, Chair of the Property Council of Australia Gold Coast Committee, Executive Member of the City Heart Task Force, Fellow Planning Institute of Australia, Adjunct Industry Fellow, Griffith University Cities Research Institute, Chair of the Planning Industry Reference Group, Griffith University, Committee Member, Bond University Property Industry Advisory Group, Member of the Gold Coast Light Rail Business Advisory Group, Board Member, Study Gold Coast, Board Member, Top 100 Women in Construction, a member of the Lacey Group Advisory Committee, and a former member of the Gold Coast Music Advisory Board. He always stepped up. Matt's family, his wife Sam and children Maggie, Oliver and Louis, were his greatest joy, and I know we're also very happy that they spent a magical Christmas together in Europe. Matt fought so hard from the moment he was diagnosed. He was brave, he was dignified, and he had his family at the forefront of his mind the whole way through. On behalf of Council, I pass on our condolences to Sam and their 3 children. We have lost a great friend and mentor, and our city is the poorer. Rest in peace, Matt.
Councillors, I put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Those who want their name added would be Councillor Hamill, Owen Jones, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Peter Young, or matter of fact, all of us. You ready to go again? Councillor Gates?
Yeah, this one's difficult too because I've known this gentleman since I was about 13. So I'd like to move that a motion of condolence be passed and a message of sympathy sent to the Cooley family on the passing of Sydney Tasman Cooley.
Seconder, Councillor Owen Jones.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Sid Cooley passed away on the 6th of January. He was one of our country's great entrepreneurs with a myriad of successful businesses. He's probably not a name that anyone in this room is familiar with, Mr Mayor. He started life as a baker and went on to market Billy Bunter pies. It was a pie in Victoria that really gave 4 and 20 a run for their money, probably in about the 60s and 70s. He ate a toasted muffin in America and brought the equipment to Australia to produce those muffins here and distribute them under many different brands for many years. He loved the Gold Coast and moved his business operations here from Sydney in about 1980. He bought a large factory out near our East Lake depot, and he developed the machinery to bake the Australian version of American Twinkies, an individually wrapped, what was called a twinkle here in Australia, in a cellophane wrap for children's school lunch boxes. They too were distributed under many different brands, but all produced right here in the Gold Coast factory. Sid and his family then went on to establish and operate for many years the successful Aqueduct Tours in the heart of Surfers Paradise, a very new and different venture which clearly became one of the city's premier tourism attractions. Sid is survived by his wife Dawn and children Deb, Victor, Jeff and Jennifer, together with 10 grandchildren. Mr Mayor, Sid Cooley typified your often quoted have a go spirit right here on the Gold Coast, and he'll be sadly missed.
Councillor, I put motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. All right. Councillor, I have no list on other condolences there. Is there any late condolences that I don't know of? Councillor Peter Young?
Name be added to that?
Yes. Could you add Councillor Peter Young? Okay. We'll move on to item 4, Mayoral Minute. There's one. Motion on the screen that the motion is that the date of the Special Budget Committee meeting of Thursday, 23rd of March 2023 be rescheduled to Monday the 17th of April 2023 in order for the Mayor to host a visit to the city of the Brisbane Organising Committee of the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games Board. I checked with the CEO, it doesn't conflict with his schedule of delivering the budget on time. Can I just, anyone speak against the motion? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried, unanimous. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, any correction on the minutes there? Someone like to move for adoption? Councillor Gates, seconder. Councillor Tozer. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Go to item 6, Mayor's report. Councillors, 28th of November, was a mayoral mission to Dubai. The first part was tour of the waste to energy facility in Dubai that they're building, the world's largest complex. The facility is to convert 1.825 million tonnes of waste per year into baseload renewable energy, producing 193 megawatts of electricity. And so they're targeting by 2050, 75% of their waste will be turned into energy. And we were very fortunate. We had a very detailed technical briefing of how that's to be all done. And my main question was that can the design be bespoke and changed in the effect that our wastes are going to be different to their waste because of the mixture. I won't get into detail, but the answer to that is that the technology that Dubai is using would be applicable to be here on the Gold Coast. Thereby, we should look at it and that instead of our waste going into the tip, would go into something like this. So that's really, they're very generous in giving us all their technology, mainly because we're their sister city relationship. Coincidentally, the other leading waste to energy facility is actually in Taipei and Tainan, and they're both our sister city. So I'll be definitely wanting to get there and compare notes so that by the time give it to the Waste Energy Committee and to see that with the available technology that we can have a project that can handle our waste well into the future. Then we met with CEO of Dubai Health Authority, Dr. Yunus Mohammed Amin Ahmed Kasim, and that basically the Gold Coast is keen to understand, as I told him, about Dubai's health technology, looking at Sister Innovation Park Memorandum of Understanding, Education and Research Partnership, Drug Vaccine Diagnostic Development, Advanced Rehabilitation Clinic of Excellence, Orthopedic Surgery and Data Enabling Medical Platform. So that's the target that we can set up the meetings there. And then we went and meet with Digital Dubai, and was established recently in 2021 to develop and oversee the digital transformation of Dubai. The vision is to make Dubai the world's digital capital, not just digitising government services, but also digitising life in Dubai. So their four key tasks is accelerate digital transformation of the city through strategic partnership with government and private sector entities, increase of the Dubai digital economy, contribution to the city's GDP, build and develop digital competency of national talent, maintain and develop Dubai's digital wealth whilst accelerating Dubai's cybersecurity efforts. So they're all wonderful ideas, and they're happy to share to us with what they're doing. Then we caught up with Dubai Municipality and with Director General, His Excellency Dawood, and they have plans as well, went through their corporate structure, and we recognise that last year was 21st anniversary of Gold Coast Sister City relationship with Dubai. So in essence, we look forward to continue to share knowledge and engage with Dubai on a range of economic opportunities through the Sister City relationship. Next visit was to Ghassan Aboud Group. Primarily, this entrepreneur group has vast investment, but one of the part is the Crystal Brook collection of sustainable luxury hotels. So, of course, I'm saying that they need one of those here on the Gold Coast. And so he'll be coming over to have a look. Then had a meeting with Dubai Racing Club, met with Club President, Major General Mohammed Ehsan Al Ahab. Dubai Racing Club organised and host the horse racing at Meydan Racecourse. And this Dubai World Cup is the highlight of Dubai sporting and social calendar. Attracts the best horses and riders from around the world. The total prize money is $30.5 million for the showcase of 9 races. I took the opportunity to talk about Magic Million and opportunities for Gold Coast Turf Club and Dubai Racing Club to cooperation. Perhaps one of those races would be name a Gold Coast race, and that the winner of the Magic Million would be an automatic entry to a race in the Dubai World Cup. So we'll progress with that. Then we had a meeting with Dubai Future Foundation. They're building a cohesive innovation ecosystem that includes accelerated programs, incubators, labs, knowledge platforms, all with the purpose of challenging the status quo and designing a future-ready city powered by future leaders. And we tour the Dubai Museum of the Future. And if you're ever in Dubai, I recommend you to have a look at there. This meeting with Dubai Future Foundation, also with the Dubai Health Authority, present opportunities for the Gold Coast Health and Knowledge Precinct in the areas of technology, innovation, partnership and clinical research. So as a result, Health and Knowledge Precinct representatives will be in Dubai end of this month, and there'll be a City of Gold Coast-led delegation to the Arab Health. And meeting with Dubai Department of Economic and Tourism. I met some new people there. His Excellency Hello was head of that, but he's been promoted, so got a chance to meet all the new people there. And the corporation is still there to work in about tourism, but I said that we recognise the importance of Emiratis to our economy, that we have real interest in attracting more Emiratis back to the Gold Coast for their summer holidays. So we didn't waste any time to catch up with everybody there. Then 6th to the 8th of December, I did a Mayoral visit to Vietnam, met with Chairman Mr. Tran Si Ta Ho of Hanoi's People Committee. I was able to learn more about Hanoi and identify possible synergy for further engagement. I also met with Vice Chairman Mr. Dong Ah Dong, Ho Chi Minh City's People's Committee, and discussed potential economic engagement on our key industry sector are in line with their priorities. And then I caught up with both Vietjet and Bamboo Airways to investigate possible direct flights to the Gold Coast and or Brisbane. Caught up with Sarah Hooper as well, Australian Consul General. Vietnam is one of Australia's fastest growing trade markets in ASEAN region, and the long-term outlook of Australian-Vietnam trade and business relationship remains positive. Just a quick note, this trip was self-funded. Next item, official opening of the Broadbeach Culture Precinct, Thursday, 15th December, $14.8 million Broadbeach Culture Centre has been opened. Upgrade to the auditorium, new dance studio, multi-purpose hall and meeting rooms, all with new audio, visual sound and lighting technology. I was pleased it was open in time for the summer holidays. The state-of-the-art facility are available for hire. Organisations who provide activities to the community can attend and are entitled to great discounts of the normal hourly rates. So check it out. Also launched the Natural GC summer program on the 15th December. Over 42 free and low-cost activities and workshop running from December to February. Residents can immerse themselves in wildlife encounters, underwater experience and Indigenous cultural program during the summer holidays through the City Natural GC program. Last summer, we had 1,500 children and adults involved in the program activities, and I believe attendance number for this year is up from last year. Launch of Destination Gold Coast Ambassador Program, 18th December, and through Be Connect Gold Coast Program, leaders of our city will work with Destination Gold Coast to attract and secure more events for the city. The program, the Ambassador Program announcement was first commenced in 2013, known as Gold Coast Tourism Ambassador Circle. During this time, the program consisted of 16 ambassadors and resulted in $40 million in conference, meetings and events booked for the Gold Coast. Then on the 16th December, Councillor Gates, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Owen Jones, we went to Southport Yacht Club to farewell Maritimo 11 yacht. And so the idea was that they were going to fly the city crest logo in the Sydney to Hobart race. Unfortunately, on the way down to Sydney, they encountered a storm and the boat needed to return to the Gold Coast. The replacement yacht was not accepted into Sydney to Hobart, so they enter Melbourne to Hobart race instead, showing true Gold Coast fighting spirit. They went on to win line honours, taking out every handicap in which they are entered in the 50th anniversary of Melbourne to Hobart. So well done to Maritimo. Australian Citizenship Ceremony, 26th of January. The citizenship ceremony was held at Lakeside Room. Councillor Badal Lumpson was there, so was Councillor Donna Gates, and 226 Gold Coasters from 62 countries became new Australian citizen. And later on, we kicked off the Australian Day celebration at Hotter Outdoor Stage. I was advised that throughout the afternoon into the evening, over 10,000 people attended. And that's just an aerial photo. I think there are fireworks there as well. And Saturday the 28th, just the last Saturday, ACTA Awards, and I was delighted to join Australia Academy of Cinema and Television Arts President Russell Crowe to announce that from 2024, our city will host ACTA Awards for 3 years, shining lights on our ability to host the biggest film production in the world. The awards will be held in February to coincide with major film awards season around the world. So I have to say it was pleasing to hear Russell Crowe acknowledgement of Hotter, and his words is that when you built Hotter, it got actors' attention and realised that arts and culture is alive and well on the Gold Coast, and that's one of the reasons that they moved Hotter Awards up here, and of course a few dollars added to it. I move, councillors, that my Mayor's report be welcome and noted. Seconder, Councillor Gates. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against. Motion carried. Item 7, clarification. Nil. Business arising from minutes. Nil. Presentation. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The City of Gold Coast has been selected as the overall winner of the 2022 Granicus Digital Government Website of the Year Award. Granicus is the provider of the city's new web platform. The company has over 5,500 government customers around the world. Granicus outlined that our award submission demonstrated an in-depth approach to the research and engagement, leading to a significant investment in digitising and improving the citizen experience when interacting with council. And this is the reason why we were selected as the winner, Mr Mayor. Our new website was delivered just over 12 months ago through the Web Transformation Project. The small but effective group of web developers, designers and specialist content writers was led by project manager Christina Jurgenet and supported by business analysts and organisational change leads. The transformation of our website was completed in record time and was recognised internally as one of the most successful projects run in recent times. We'd like to thank the project team, web services and the hundreds of stakeholders across the organisation whose hard work and enthusiasm for quality outcome has contributed to this award.
Oh, thank you. Let's come on up. Okay, item 10, conflict of interest declaration in this section. Mr. C, I got nil. So nil, okay. Then we'll go to item 11.1, Transport and Infrastructure Chair, Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I move that the report of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee meeting held on Monday the 23rd of January 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 7 be received.
Seconder, Councillor Taylor. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried. Councillors, any item you wish to deal separately? Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I just have a procedural question for you. At committee 7.1 was amended to refer the matter to council for consideration. That is the recommendation that was carried. So my question to you is, do we need to move that separately to move the officer recommendation, or can we move the committee recommendation and take this?
We'll do separately. We'll go to 7.1. Can you put on the screen what is the officer's recommendation? Okay, on the screen it says move, Councillor Vorster. Did you want to move that?
I'm happy to move the officer recommendation. At the moment, we have the committee recommendation still. Well, there we go. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay, that's on the screen there. Second, Councillor Peter Young. I've got a question from Councillor Gates.
Mr Mayor, I wanted to move an amendment by simply adding an item number 6.
Okay, let's go there.
And it would read that each year the annual roads rehabilitation and reseals program identifying proposed capital works across the city be provided to all councillors. I'll just take it over to the minute secretary.
Okay. All right. We'll get it on the screen and. Councillor Gates, Councillor Vorster's happy with that. Can I just add it to the original
Certainly.
motion?
Thank you.
And Councillor Peter Young being a seconder?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
You're fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just have this one motion. Question, Councillor Corwell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through you to the Director. Just in relation to the confidential briefing note that was circulated last week, on page 7 of 11, it talks about potential projects to be deferred. Is that to be read as projects to potentially be deferred if we were to not take the money out of our strategic priority reserve as the funding source? Was this the identified bundle of projects? Is that what that means?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councillor Gates.
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to highlight the reason for my inclusion, if I might. Do you want me to do that now or wait until Councillor
No,
Vorster?
I'd like Councillor Vorster to speak on it first,
Okay,
and then
fine.
you can. Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, it's often said that council should be about roads, rates and rubbish, and it's not lost on me that the very first word in that triumvirate is roads. The feedback through my office, and certainly as I move about the community, is that the quality and the upkeep of our roads is a proxy test that residents apply to, I suppose, have an impression of how we look after other assets across the city. So when our roads are in good condition, when they're safe, residents hope and expect that our other assets are also in good condition and are safe. Roads, unlike many assets, are very difficult to shelter, and they're often exposed to all manner of environmental risk. It's not just landslide that might undermine the substrate, but also water will find its way through every crack to cause catastrophic damage and failure, particularly when that water finds its way to acid sulphite soils. Mr Mayor, the recent La Nina event put enormous pressure on our road network, not only state roads but council roads as well. And what city officers did was, I think, act on a very reasonable position, and that is they expected that councillors would want these roads repaired as soon as possible, not only for safety reasons but to meet community expectations. Mr Mayor, I think it would be fair to say that there are significant pressures under this budget. It's one of the reasons why the city adopted a new sustainable pavement management plan to make sure that we're balancing capital expenditure with amenity issues and safety issues. Because of factors outside of our control, some expenditure had to be brought forward. But I think city officers understood at committee, and today I want to thank Councillor Gates for her pseudo amendment. I think it should be clearly understood by city officers that we want those decisions that bring forward work and capital expenditure to be merits-based and based on evidence. And having an opportunity, thanks to Councillor Gates with Part 6, we discharge our duty to make sure that when we're spending the millions of dollars to put those roads back in order, we're doing so in a responsible way. City officers did the best with the resources they had at the time. I'm sure the residents that benefited from those improved roads are absolutely grateful, and we all have a collective interest in making sure that every part of the Gold Coast receives a similar standard moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. And speaking against the motion, I'll go to Councillor Gates for.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I had a level of concern that a lot of the projects listed on the program in Division 3 were actually not completed. So I did ask the Director for a copy of the annual program, which we used to get for every division every year, but this year I believe that only the Mayor received the full complement of each division's proposed capital works as part of that program. And when I got that list over the weekend and compared it, there's 29 proposed projects to be deferred out of 32 that were on the rehab and reseals program that have not been done. So 29 of 32 failed to be done, but others were brought into the program. So my reason for moving number 6 is I'm sure that we recognise safety concerns when they occur, and that sometimes we have to shift and things need to be prioritised to address storm damage and safety concerns, and that's more than acceptable. That needs to be done. But I felt that because we didn't perhaps focus on the program this year, I don't really understand why so many of the program's projects for this year have failed to be done. As I said, 29 out of 32 is a lot. So by having it distributed to each and every one of us, we might keep a closer eye on what is proposed for our division so that we can make sure and highlight to the officers where there are problems that we know about, that we make sure that those works are also given priority consideration.
Okay. Councillor Vorster to close.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I think Councillor Gates made an absolutely critical point, and that is, as local representatives, moving about the very roads that we look after, we've got an opportunity to distill community feedback, but point out some home truths. And it's really important that we have an opportunity to furnish city officers with that information. So it's not just decisions based on ground radar, not decisions based on the number of potholes which might pop up and be reported, but an actual lived experience on the ground. So this is a really important step that we're taking today with that further addition. But I just want to again thank the city officers for doing what was required at the time and now working with us as a council to make sure we've got a bulletproof process moving forward. And lastly, Mr Mayor, just through you to the Acting Director, I'd like to thank her for responding to a question that I had on notice concerning Varsity Sound Avenue, which is a road that is well and truly overdue for renewal, and I understand that work will commence in March. It's another example of how councillors can work with city officers to make sure that the projects that need to get done are properly scheduled, and Councillor Gates makes sure that this will happen across the city. Thank you.
Councillors, debate's closed. I put motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry. Unanimous. Any other items to deal separately, councillors? Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the remaining recommendations of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee be adopted.
Second to Councillor Taylor. The motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry. Unanimous. Thank you, Director. We now go to Planning and Environment. Councillor Caldwell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I move that the report of the Planning and Environment Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 24th of January 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 5, be received.
Second to Councillor Owen Jones. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Councillors, any items you wish to deal separately? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be leaving the room for item 6.4, Mr Mayor. I made the declarations at Planning Committee due to receipt of donations, one of them which is prescribed. It's the delegated approvals. They've already been approved, but we always get a report noting the report, so I'll simply leave the room while that matter is considered. The amounts are on the screen, Mr Mayor.
It's on. I'm happy with it. Okay. Well, if you...
Do you want to deal with that matter now, Mr Mayor? I'm happy to...
Well, we'll deal with 6.4 and Councillor Caldwell.
Happy to move the committee recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Tozer. You'd like to speak on it further? Anyone speak against? Put motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Could you ask Councillor Gates to return? Councillors, any other items to deal separately? Councillor Caldwell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I move that the remaining recommendations of the Planning and Environment Committee be adopted.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry. Unanimous. We now go to Governance, Administration and Finance. Councillor Owen Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report of the Governance, Administration Finance Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 25th of January 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 7 be received.
Seconder, Councillor Patterson. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Councillors, I'd like to take you straight to 7.2. There's a declaration that I done similar in the past, if you can put that up. Basically, that declaration is really unchanged, and as per previous, I voluntarily decide to not participate in making a decision on this matter. Councillor Gates, could you please take the chair?
First, Mr Mayor.
All right. You take the chair and then you declare because I'm out.
Okay, councillors, my declaration was made at committee. It relates to a donation received from Colliers International of $1,250 on the 6th of the 9th, 2016. And Colliers was simply mentioned within the report as having been engaged as the sales agent for the site. So I am seeking to again remain in the room and participate in debate. Councillor Young.
Acting Mayor, I note it was a procedural motion moved at the committee by Councillor Pauline Young. I'm quite happy to move the same motion today to the effect that you may stay in the meeting due to the remoteness of the nexus of any potential conflict between yourself and Colliers, and that your contribution will be valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. That's seconded by Councillor Pauline Young. All in favour? We need a division.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Hamill, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Bowden Lumsden, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald and Councillor O'Neill.
And it's noted that I did not vote. Thank you, councillors. Okay, so item 7.2 is the Bruce Bishop car park, the gift that keeps on giving. Councillors, I have a number of questions about the financial situation, and I think those of us who were at committee will agree that we were all very confused by the differing reports that we have received historically about Bruce Bishop car park. And my personal recollection was that the figures that we made the recommendation this week on were vastly different, significantly different from the previous reports. So I recognise that Councillor Owen Jones worked really hard to keep most of the debate in open session on Wednesday, wasn't it? Wednesday, yeah. And that was valuable because it is an issue that there's been great community interest in. But I need to speak specifically about some of the figures today. So I am going to seek that we go into closed session to have a chat about the figures. That's seconded by Councillor Pauline Young. Those in favour? Oh, sure.
So in regards to the figures and their confidentiality, the figures that have been from prior years' budgets, are they confidential?
Yes. Thank you.
So, my understanding, recognising that both the director and I were not here, is that council resolved that they should be dealt with in closed previously, and they haven't been disclosed by the then CEO as part of the normal disclosure process, councillor. So yes, they are confidential.
I'm actually heading towards just adding a 6 to the recommendation. So maybe if I move that number 6, and if there's agreement with the number 6 that I'm going to include in the recommendation, then we can just wait for that. And the 6 would be that the CEO provide a full profit and loss statement for the 5 years from 2017 to 2022, inclusive of an engineer's dilapidation report, so that council has a clear understanding of the financial performance and the current condition of the asset. Well, look, I'm happy to move the entire motion with that addition, and then there's no need to go into closed session if everyone agrees that that's. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Peter Young. Councillor Owen Jones.
And Councillor Gates, do you have a time frame for that report to come forward to council?
Well, I haven't put in a time frame purposely because I note that the time frame for the report from the committee recommendation was October 2024. It's a year and 9 months away.
So could I suggest that given the fact that the report that was called for in regards to on-street, off-street parking is October 24. Would you give some consideration to an amendment of 6 to reflect 22-23, which will then pick up that full year of trading for the car park, rather than it not picking it up, if that makes sense to you?
I think that makes sense. Thank you. That's it.
Councillor Gates, whether or not you want to alter it to 6 years or alternatively change the anchoring date? So Councillor Gates, I think that we will all benefit from better information. So if maybe it is the 6 years from 2017-18 through to 22-23.
That covers it.
That covers.
Thank you. So just a change to 2022 to 2023.
We don't have to have it in, but I'll have that next time.
Yeah, sure.
So through you, Acting Mayor, so I just for full clarity, that work will be conducted externally to city offices by an external council, an external firm.
Thank you. And could I just ask a question through to you, Mr. CEO? With the difference in the figures that we've been provided over time, has that been due to staff changes or a different interpretation of the way that the finances have been calculated? Because when I did some work, I had one of the old reports and I went through it over the weekend, and it seems that there's almost $1 million difference between what we were advised last time in terms of profit and what we've been advised this time. But the report indicated that on this occasion, I don't think cash flow and forward capital works has been taken into account.
I might let the Director.
I'm sorry to sound so confused, but I am.
Thanks, Acting Chair. I think when we had this discussion on Wednesday, we thought the key reason...
You need to stand.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Acting Chair. I think when we had the discussion on Wednesday, we thought the key reason here was probably because we've been looking at income statements that look at the revenue from car parking as well as the expenditure on ongoing regular operational matters, including predominantly labour and minor maintenance. It was not a balance sheet. So we did not include major capital expenditure. If that is included, and there's some current major capital expenditure underway at the moment, it does change the figures somewhat.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Councillor Tozer. Sorry, Councillor Vorster, I'll come to you next.
So Councillor Gates has raised some issues that I think are pressing in relation to this. They're very important for us to be able to make an educated decision, informed decision. So you're saying in the report we previously got, there was capital provisions made, and therefore there was $1 million difference between what we've read most recently, where capital provisions have not been made. Can you just clarify your comment so I can get it very clearly in my head?
Through the Acting Chair. So when Council considered Council's report on the sale of the car park in October 2021, an income statement was provided. No significant forward capital expenditure was included on that report because none was programmed on the basis that the asset was being held for sale. Since that time, and based on the engineer's report, and given the time frame for the market process around the sale, there has been one significant item of major capital expenditure, which has now been included. If Council were minded to retain the car park, one of the options that was discussed last Wednesday at committee, then we would need to build in a capital renewal program over the next decade. And given that the asset is 17 years away from end of life, as we've had this major unexpected capital expenditure item come up in the last 12 months, the closer you get to end of life over the next 17 years, you could expect that more such items would arise.
Councillor Vorster and then Councillor Owen-Jones, sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Chair. Just a few short-chained questions. My first pertains to Part 6, which is your newly introduced section. If we could just scroll through, that'd be great. So it reads that the Chief Executive Officer, great, provide a full profit and loss statement for the 6 years, great, inclusive of an engineer's dilapidation report, great. I suppose my concern is that we're going to get the same sort of information that we've relied on in the past, rather than putting the capital requirements for, the maintenance of the asset together with the revenue and other minor expenses. So for us to get a holistic view on the holding costs and the potential income generating capacity of the asset, we actually need to modify 6 to look at what's effectively a balance sheet for that asset, or an asset management plan which sits alongside the income statement. So I just wondered whether you'd be comfortable working with the CEO to finesse that, so we've got all figures.
Certainly. I have no problem. I just in my own tiny mind over the weekend, I feel it's important that we know from an engineer's report the dilapidation of the building, given our previous reports. I'm more than happy to have you propose something differently, Councillor Vorster, and move it to.
Well, it looks as though Councillor Owen-Jones has all the answers.
Councillor Owen-Jones.
As Councillor Vorster knows, there isn't a monopoly on good ideas. So my suggestion would be that, as we've done in previous recommendations where we put the Chief Executive Officer, we then open brackets and put Chief Financial Officer, as in being the officer responsible for it, because I think one of the deficiencies of the report that we considered on Wednesday was that it didn't appear that the Chief Financial Officer had been involved, and clearly we now have a Chief Financial Officer, and it wouldn't make an enormous amount of sense to have them involved. So I think that might help in regards to the quality of the information that we receive. Councillor Forster.
So, Madam Chair, it may be a bit superfluous, but I think it's always, as Councillor Caldwell would say, a good idea to put things in the resolution itself. And I'd be keen to, when we receive this information, not only have the full profit and loss statement, but I'd also, for the years inclusive, I'd like to see projected. Yep, so if we can get that in there.
You may like to move this rather than me, it's fine.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Councillor Gates. Projected costs, so I think that's important. And Madam Acting Chair, I just have another question. If we could just scroll up a little bit earlier, we have here 2 and 3, which I kind of see as being linked. So we've got the council notes negotiation with the first preferred tenderer did not proceed to a contract. Okay, fair enough. Then we have 3, that the Chief Executive Officer terminate the tender process and council not proceed with the sale at this time. I've got a question through you to the CEO. Perhaps this was ventilated at committee and one of our colleagues can enlighten me, but I've got some questions around the words "at this time." And I suppose my question is, does it leave the door open to the city receiving an unsolicited offer that might propose to acquire the site or redevelop it? And if it were the intention of council not to proceed with any sale, at least until such time as we're furnished with all of the facts, might it be palatable to simply say not proceed with the sale, full stop?
Thanks for the question. Through the acting chair, so this was discussed at committee, that wording. There's nothing stopping an unsolicited proposal coming forward to council for any council asset at any time. So I guess it's for this council to decide how expressly or prescriptive that wording should be.
I think councillors, given the fact that anyone can apply for anything at any time, it's irrelevant whether it's there or not, because one council resolution simply... Sorry? Correct, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the next council resolution would simply overturn the one prior. So it's irrelevant whether it's there or it's not there. Councillor Owen-Jones?
The only thing I would add to that is, so whilst an unsolicited proposal could be received by the city at any point in time, there's still a process that even an unsolicited proposal has to go through, and that's what's regulated by the Local Government Act. Yes. So I don't think there is any words that we could put in a resolution today that would prevent somebody in the future being excited about the project or a project on the site, but they would have to come back to council, and the council would have to decide to go through the formal process that's required under the Local Government Act.
Back to you, Councillor Vorster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regrettably, I have to ask these questions now because I wasn't able to attend committee, so I apologise if we're going over old ground here. So I suppose there were two dimensions to my questions. Number one was to better understand how we might have to deal with an unsolicited proposal, and I'm satiated by Councillor Owen Jones's commentary around the Local Government Act. My question to you, or through you to the CEO or to our Chief Investment Officer, is should Council carry this recommendation today, would there be a circumstance internally where city officers might decide, notwithstanding the decision not to proceed with sale, that a process be instigated that's not an unsolicited external one, but an internal opportunity that might be explored? Thank you.
Through you, Acting Mayor, no.
Councillor Caldwell.
Thanks, Councillor Gates. So just a question through you to the CEO. When was the last time we had a dilapidation report undertaken for the asset?
Thanks for the question. So that was provided to Council on October 2021 when Council considered the sale of the report. It was a report done by Cardno.
Yeah. And so what was the cost of that report, do you remember?
I wasn't here at the time, I couldn't tell you.
And do we, Councillor Gates, are you expecting we would do a new dilapidation report, or are we going to just simply have that Cardno report provided to councillors?
Well, I think it's important that it's current.
Right. Okay.
Yes, a new one.
A new one? Okay. And so, Councillor Gates, is the purpose of this to explore whether or not, your amendment, to explore whether the data provided on page 70 is correct or not? Are you suggesting that it's not now correct and that the previous information was correct, or are you...
I have no idea what's correct and what's not correct. I don't think any of us does have an idea because it varies so much between the two reports. So my point twice last week at our committees was that more information leads to better decision making, and it's purely so that we have all of the relevant information for any future decisions that we make. I quite respect that the mood in the room last week was that we did not wish to proceed with the sale, and I respect that. But I think for the future we need to know what was correct information that we were provided and perhaps what is different or the reasons why it's different. I don't think anyone's tried to mislead us at any time. I just think we've had two sets of differing information that has led to very different decisions. Councillor Tozer.
Thank you, Councillor Gates. On page 70, it's on grey paper, so I'm going to try to be as obtuse as possible. So
Mr. CEO, will you tell me if we get to any position where we need to go into close?
Fourth paragraph of page 70, on the grey papers there, it talks about some modest rates of return on the asset is the phrase that's used. And I'm not going to reveal any of the figures, but my question is, do these modest rates of return on the asset include or not include the figures on the screen at number 4? So does that modest rate of return include the capital obligations we now have where we do hold on to it, or do they not include?
Through the Acting Chair, thanks for the question. So they do not include that figure on the screen.
Right, so is there a... Councillor Gates, the report that you're seeking, effectively, it seems to me that it tries to create some information provided to councillors that includes those figures. Is that loosely what you're trying to achieve? Great,
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? So, are you moving this, you're happy to move this, Councillor Vorster? And Councillor Taylor, you'd like to second it, would you, or did you wish to speak? Councillor Young, are you okay with that? Councillor Vorster's changed it slightly and is happy to move the motion.
your addition. Thank you.
And Councillor Taylor, did you wish to speak to it? Is that why you had your hand up? I'll get Councillor Vorster to open debate once Councillor Young has had a look at number 6. You're happy with that? So you're happy to still second that, Councillor Young? Okay. Oh, it was... I'm sorry, I've got the wrong Young. Okay, so it's Councillor Peter Young who seconded. Councillor Vorster, would you like to open debate?
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Chair. I think it'd be fair to say that when many people think about the Gold Coast, they often think about Surfers Paradise. And I know when I first came to the city as a visitor many moons ago now, we often talked about the city as Surfers Paradise, Surfers Paradise, Surfers Paradise. And certainly during this term of council, thanks to, I think, the leadership of Councillor Taylor here, there's been a renewed interest in the way Surfers Paradise looks, feels and functions, but also the role that Surfers Paradise plays in the broader economy and the level of amenity that Surfers Paradise will need to provide in order to ensure that those who make Surfers Paradise their home enjoy a fantastic and livable lifestyle. Now, Madam Acting Chair, so much has changed with Surfers Paradise over the years. I mean, the definition of Surfers Paradise is change and is progress. And one of the fundamental changes of Surfers Paradise has been the introduction of mass transit, the light rail, which has changed the way that people enjoy the precinct, how they come in and how they leave. But, Madam Acting Chair, I think it'd be fair to say that we're still some way away from the utopian existence of solely using public transport, and at least for the time being, we remain a car-dependent society, a car-dependent city. The Bruce Bishop car park provides nearly 1,600 car parks, and it's true that the car park is not always full. But what we do understand about Surfers Paradise is that it is growing and that there will be increasing demand for car parking. And there will come a time in the future, notwithstanding a shift to public transport, where there will be demand for 1,600 car parking spaces. The challenge that we face as a city is whether this asset, the Bruce Bishop car park, should be disposed of because we can make better use of the proceeds to serve some other need of the city, or whether it is a better outcome to hold on to the asset, to provide those car parks to meet the demand of today, and perhaps keep our powder dry to explore economic and social opportunities down the track. This has not been an easy process for us to grapple with. The community is very polarised on the issue. There are some people who say, sell the asset. And there are many people who say, this is too important to sell, we must retain it at all costs. And what's difficult for us, Madam Acting Chair, as city leaders, is that we are privy to confidential information that cannot be disclosed publicly. The community, through their elected representatives, hope that we all discharge our duties to ask the tough questions and to arrive at a decision that gets the balance absolutely right. They have to have faith in us in order to act in their interests, and I hope the community has that faith. Today, Madam Acting Chair, we've had an opportunity to consider a resolution that halts a sale process, that takes this asset off the market and gives us an opportunity to get some clear air and working together with the new executive leadership team of the city to properly understand what the holding costs are of this asset, to properly understand how much this asset will cost in order to maintain to the end of its useful life, and potentially to understand the cost that may be required to extend the useful life of that asset. To date, we've been presented with information, but it's been like shifting sands, like the sands of the Surfers Paradise Beach itself. Hopefully we reach bedrock. Thank you, Councillor Caldwell. Hopefully with the new Chief Financial Officer and new Chief Executive Officer and Chief Investment Officer, we can reach the bedrock and properly understand what this asset means, not only in financial terms, but to the city. And I know I'm speaking at length, but there is so much community interest in this. I think we all have a duty to ventilate it. Madam Acting Chair, just in closing, I want to thank Councillor Taylor, who I think has demonstrated some fantastic leadership on this point, and I want to thank you today for opening up a discussion to get to the bottom of the facts. And hopefully the community, for those who may have been a little bit weary, can have some renewed faith in our decision-making abilities and capacities, and realise that we will ask the questions to ensure that we get the balance right. We will ask the questions to ensure that transparency is at the heart of the decisions that we make, and that as far as possible, we will have a discussion in open, which is what we've done today, resisting the temptation to go into closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vorster. Does anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Lacastra.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Madam Acting Chair. First thing I'm going to say is I also would congratulate Councillor Taylor, because he's done a lot of work to get the numbers in the room here, and I think he's certainly represented who he feels he needs to represent, and that's his division and the people of Surfers Paradise, and clearly he feels that the majority of people in Surfers Paradise feel that this is the best outcome. And I certainly commend Councillor Taylor for that. There's no way on earth that I can support this motion, and will support the motion. I really don't care. I'm the only one in the room who doesn't support the motion. And I think also I commend you for trying to find something which was a bit of give and take here, but it didn't give enough from my point of view to be able to support this motion. Basically, all we've done is go full circle. I can't recall when we first started discussing the sale of Bruce Bishop car park, but when was it?
2007-8.
2007-8, I was going to say it's probably around 15 years, so that's pretty darn close, isn't it? So, okay, 15 years. And all we've done is come back to exactly where we were. I don't think that gives the public any more confidence that in this council at all. In fact, I think it actually, all it does is give a lack of confidence, quite honestly, because it just says that after 15 years and four different councils who have actually debated this issue, that we're still stuck with an asset which, we've lost money on for as long as I've been here. Something that the light rail was supposedly meant to fix anyway, because the light rail meant that everyone's using public transport, so we don't actually need car parks. But with the actual negotiation of the original tender, I think we were keeping around 670 odd car parks from memory. I can't recall the number that we were going to actually keep. So we still kept that component. The main reason I can't support this, though, is because even though I'm preempting a decision that will be made when I get up to move the Economy, Tourism and Events Committee meeting. There's actually an item in there which certainly went through committee, and I think the majority of councillors were in attendance, where we spoke about going out for, in relation to the Hotter Master Plan, and going out to an expression of interest to see what the market wants to do. And it's on open pages, so I can speak about it quite freely. What the market would like to do in regards to blocks B1, B2 and B3. There we go. We've got a new, I've just created a new character. I got B1 and B2 and now I've created Now I've created B3 as well. Yes, there might be a few rats, but there we go. But we won't go into the rat. So we're actually going out and saying, look, tell us what you got. What would you like to offer that you think would make this precinct better and would actually dovetail nicely into our vision for the Hotter site? And we've all said, what a brilliant idea. Let's go out and see what the commercial market wants to do. This is really no different in the sense of what the officer's recommendation was, and I noticed that Councillor Hamill actually foreshadowed the officer's recommendation when this came to committee, with the addition of looking at public car parking in Surfers Paradise and doing an audit basically of on-street, off-street car parking, which I thought was which was a really good compromise. For me, that was the best compromise. So I don't understand why it's such a good idea for the Hotter site, but it's not such a good idea for something that four previous councils have debated and said, look, we really need to get rid of this asset. And the fact is, all we're doing is flick passing it to the next council and go, do you know what, we really need to get rid of this asset. And all we're doing is just putting off the inevitable. The market it's a very, very good time. It's an incredibly good time to go out to the market to actually see what's out there. And what this isn't saying, sell the site. It's not saying sell the site. It's actually saying, let's go out and see if there are any ideas. We might get something we go, wow, this is just too good to turn down. This is absolutely remarkable. It might be someone who wants to build another car park. It might be a much greater car park with something nice on top and something nice underneath. I don't know. But the fact is, I believe we should go out and look at it, because this is just going to go round and round and round again, and we are just failing to make any decision. All this is saying is, don't do it at the moment, but this is the time to do it, because the market is telling us this is the right time. There's never been a better time to dispose of this asset. But if we don't get a good offer, we don't get a good commercial offer, and we don't like what they're going to do, there may be something that's going to be absolutely brilliant for the community, that's going to have a brilliant impact, that people as surfers and the city are going to go, wow, look at this social impact, look what we're getting here. But we're not even giving ourselves the chance to go out and see what others out there say they could do with this site. All I'm saying is we should go with the officer's recommendation. Happy to the original officer's recommendation in the report, along with Councillor Hamill's additional one about looking at the car parking, doing an audit, because it's not saying sell it, we're saying, look, let's just go out and have a look. And as I say, it's no different really to what we're doing with Hotter. So we're being inconsistent yet again, and all we're doing is putting off the inevitable and showing that this council, after 15 years, still can't make a decision on something we know really should be sold, but only if we can be shown that there's something there that we think would support the city in the best possible way. You've just totally wiped that out, and there's no way on earth that I can support this motion. It's a shocker.
Thank you, Councillor Castro. Councillor Owen-Jones was next speaking for.
Thank you. And could I just have a look at the wording of the added 6? Thank you. So I actually think that what we discussed at committee on Wednesday was important, and likewise I'm not opposed to 6, because ultimately, for some of the reasons that Councillor Castro has just been eloquent about, the asset in the middle of Surfers Paradise is actually has over time been seen to be in a state of repair or disrepair. So a dilapidation report is important. The city has invested a considerable amount of money over the last 5 or so years in regards to bringing some of the asset back into a better condition. One of the things that Councillor Castro mentioned was 600 car parks. That's not this particular transaction that we're bringing an end. That was the one before Councillor Castro, where we sought to provide some conditions around it. So what's happened over the last 15 years is that the council has gone to the market 3 times, once in the dark histories of 2008-9 or thereabouts, where the council made a decision not to proceed further. We went to the market ultimately to fund the Hotter building and the Isla Capri Bridge, and that from memory was 2016-17. We did receive an offer, though it didn't proceed. And then most recently we've come to the end of an offer process that actually didn't have any conditions. So as we said on Wednesday, we've tried all 3 different versions. 6 is important because it gives us better information, but so too 4 is also important because in the information that we were provided in the report that we dealt with on Wednesday is it said that the asset management plan indicated that there was $3.4 million required in spending over the next 10 years. What we do know in regards to the Bruce Bishop car park, it's actually two assets. It's a transit centre, and which goes down from memory 5 levels, and then it's the two decks of the Bruce Bishop car park. We've all received emails over the weekend in regards to that. The green space that was on top of the Bruce Bishop car park cannot return because of issues in regards to weight and design. So that won't happen. There won't be bird life, there won't be tree planting, there won't be any of that in regards to the top deck, and the dilapidation report may help provide some information in that regards. The car parking is important, and it's important in the context that when Surfers Paradise reaches its peak, it does provide an option for surge parking, but on any given day, the occupancy on a monthly average is around 37%. So that allows for a whole lot of vacancy. So if we were to go to the transit centre today and go down to the 5th level, you walk up 3 levels before you find any cars. It really is an asset that needs to be worked just a little bit harder, and I think that's the importance of 5. 5 basically requires the administration to give us some better feedback in regards to the existing stock of on-street and off-street car parking, both in private and public hands, that is in Central Surfers Paradise, and from there we can make a better decision. I think we all know that when we drive to Brisbane and we park in the King George Square, we pay $30 for 3 hours parking, which is, and that's just the start. So if you stay there for the day, it's considerably more than that. Whereas you can park in the middle of Surfers Paradise at the moment for $10. So I think that a future report should bring some information in regards to that, because as I said on Wednesday, my personal view is that if you are seeking to commute into Surfers Paradise, you should maybe give some consideration to the light rail as opposed to it being cheaper to drive into Surfers Paradise and park, because as we know, if you have a city that plans for cars, you will get cars. So if we change the way people move, we can do that through pricing. So I think that's important to bear in mind. And some people may not like the idea of cheap parking no longer being available in Surfers Paradise, but I think that is definitely a decision that needs to be made. And then my final point is just in regards to the transit centre and the fact that clearly we now live in a world where people, domestic tourists in particular, no longer come to the Gold Coast on Skinners and Greyhound buses. They come to the Gold Coast on Jetstar and Qantas and Scoot and whoever else. So I think that's a significant change in the way that domestic travel operates. The transit centre clearly doesn't operate as it was originally designed. There's an element of vacancy in regards to that building, and that may be something that the administration needs to give some careful consideration to as well, because if we are going to invest money in completing required works under the asset management plan, and if we're going to try to enliven how we get people parking in Central Surfers Paradise, we should also maybe give some consideration as to how, if anything, we can enliven that particular area of surface in regards to the transit centre itself.
Thank you, Councillor Owen-Jones. Do I have a speaker against? Councillor Pauline Young.
And thank you, Acting Chair. Look, in consideration of what we're talking about today, I've given it a lot of thought. I've had a good conversation with the Acting Councillor for the area, and we talk backwards and forwards about different aspects of it, but I'm unable to support this recommendation today. I'm listening to Councillor Vorster with him saying that Surfers Paradise is the heart of our city, as the area council has done in the past, and it's the heart of the city. It's what people talk about. It's a draw card for visitors to our city. And I'd like to say it's a draw card for locals, but a lot of locals don't go into Surfers Paradise now. certain aspects do, certain don't, but there is quite a lot that don't go into surface now. I believe that if Surface Paradise is to be our heart of the city, it needs to be an architectural or some sort of landmark there that enhances the character of the whole of Surface Paradise. And at the moment, in retaining this car park the way it is an unappealing entrance to our city from the airport, from the local airport, from the light rail going, from whatever's coming into the city. It's an unappealing entrance. And I think there's not a person in this room that would say, well, if we're going to retain that it should be ratepayers' funds that reenact that whole site at the cost of other projects within the city. So Councillor Owen-Jones is just very identified that it's not going to have a lot of trees on it. We've removed the parkland and that at the top of it. The dilapidation report will give us further information. We removed the park area on the top of that on advice, on engineers' advice and on previous reports giving to us. So if we're not going to enhance the area as it is at the moment, based on those reports, as Chair for Transport, we're actually looking at getting people out of cars and into public transport. It takes time for those things to happen going forward, and we are a city that's committed to light rail north-south for our city, and we're going to feed in our east-west connections. But if we continue to delay the sale of car parks like this, we've got a 37% occupancy currently on that car park, at $10 a day, as Councillor Owen-Jones kindly identified too, at $10 a day. We will not, while the car park is in the state that it's in now, or if we can only get 37% of occupancy at $10 a day, we're not going to get $20 and $25 and $35 a day like they do in the centre of Brisbane, where we've got thousands of people coming in to be in all of those towers in the centre of the city. So to think that we are going to in the future get those $25, $30, $35 a day returns on a single car park in Surface Paradise, I think we are unrealistic by expecting that. So if we can't do anything on the top, and I am very supportive of that final number 6 there, we need to know what the holding costs for this site are. This is a massive site in the centre of the heart of our city with a dilapidated, almost war zone type fixture on the top of it, and this is how we are welcoming people into the heart of our city. And to then, with the sale of this, I don't know if it was eventually, or we had a changed recommendation where it was sold, perhaps potentially the local area councillor could represent his community, some of those funds be put back into Surface Paradise to make it the place that it was in the past. But in going forward, I actually think that we need to assess the site, that we need not to hold this site and to hold the costs of future improvements for the next 15 to 17 years on that site. What becomes apparent to us now in a dilapidation report is it is an ageing asset, and whilst it is ageing, the cost of keeping it in that state is only going to increase based on today's dollars. So I won't be supporting the recommendation today.
Thanks, Councillor Young. Speaking in favour, do you mind if I go to the area councillor and let him speak first? Sorry, I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, I'd like to thank the committee meeting last Wednesday for the debate and the change of recommendations. And I really support the change that's been made at the bottom, because it is important that we do identify what the ongoing concerns is, but this should apply to all our assets in the city, not just one particular asset. So my belief as a whole city, any of our major assets would have an end of life, and this has to be done on all assets. In relation to the transit centre, it's everyone's asset. I know it keeps being referred to saying Surface Paradise and my constituents, but I get many emails from people outside of my area that are actually wanting to come to Surface Paradise, and we're representing in this room everyone on the Gold Coast. So as a local representative, I have got this asset that I'm supporting the local business, but this is an asset that belongs to the whole Gold Coast. In relation to 4 councils, 2 tender processes, 15 years, I think this has actually told us, do we need to sell it? We've just come out of a boom time and we've just had a tender process that failed. So if it is the right time to sell it, we didn't sell it. Hotter, as are going out to tender. We're talking about Surfers Paradise. We have commercial entities all around Surfers Paradise. We have business and we have the community. So if we ever do any consultation, we need to ensure that commercial, business and the community is part of that process in making a decision of one of our major assets on the Gold Coast. Community organisations rely on it. We are the heart of the city. Division 10 is unlimited height. It's density. It's going to grow. It's going to get larger. There's going to be more people. And we need to ensure our community organisations have got a place we can support. We have a surf life saving club that has hundreds of nippers, and community rely on our car park. The local RSL club, local community. Surfers Paradise doesn't have a library. Hotter. Parking, we talk about light rail, and we need to encourage light rail, and we need to get everyone on light rail. But this is actually a parking spot for someone that's west of the Gold Coast Highway that can drive and park and hop on light rail. And the parking study will do 2 things. One, ensure we're getting the right return of money to maintain and keep the asset. And 2, it will talk about what does our city need in the long term as we grow. It is really important that we understand what our asset in the middle of the city, what we need in relation to parking. We get one crack at this. We can't in 10, 15 years come back and say, we made a mistake. I know it's mentioned 15 years, but sometimes you've got to be patient. And guess what? We are a growing city. I keep saying we're not a country town and we're not the big city. We're an 18-year-old. We're growing up, but we've still got a lot of maturing to be done. So we've got to make sure that we protect our assets that we may need in the future. So I am encouraging all our councillors here to support this motion. It's important for the Gold Coast. It's important for our city. And I just hope we can get full support to keep the asset. And the best thing about this report, it does talk about it is making a return at the moment. We've got the ability to improve on the return. So let's keep this asset here. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. A speaker against? Yep, stand up, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. Just a clarification in regards to some comments that Councillor Le Castro made in regards to Hotter. I'd just like to bring it to everyone's attention on page 4 of the minutes. Number 3, it was with the Hotter, it's disposal by the way of a lease, not a sale, as was for the Brisbishop car park. So there is a difference between a lease and the sale.
Thank you. So, firstly, did I have any speakers against? No? Then Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also had 2 clarifications. I first just wanted to put it on record that my decision wasn't based on another councillor doing the numbers, but it was based on the report presented and the committee meeting, which I attended, and I understand that Councillor Castro wasn't there. Yeah. If Councillor Castro was there...
Point of order. I actually had a meeting with the CEO, and that was actually before, that was in the book, so it wasn't like I was just not at the meeting. No. I actually had a meeting with the CEO.
No.
Okay, at the time. Thank you. I
appreciate that. And I also appreciate it must be pretty frustrating coming back to a matter that you've dealt with for 15 years. So I really do respect that, and I respect your position on this. The report was substantially different, and it was enough for me to change my position from where I was last time. But I did want to make one other clarification to Councillor Castro, who you may not have been aware of, given he wasn't at that meeting. And I made it clear to our Chief Investment Officer at the time my concern about why I could not support that clause and why it is substantially different to the Hodder case. The reason is because in this one, it was presented to us as the reason for it was to fulfil on the outcome of the council plan to create a vibrant, thriving economy. When we look at the proposal for Hodder, it is not just looking at the economy, it's looking at all the other outcomes of our council plan, including vibrant lifestyle, connected community, naturally unique, livable places, and one city. So for us at this stage, given what we're dealing with, to go out and to consider something purely on the basis of economics and not considering those other elements, which is what was inherently behind that presentation, was not something that I could go with. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there are no more speakers against, I'll go back to Councillor Vorster to close. But I just wanted to say before I do that I have been a vocal and positive supporter of the sale of this asset on the basis of the information that has previously been put before us. I still didn't support this motion at committee because I was so confused by the varying information, but I will support it today because we're going to get to the bottom of the information that we all should, as elected representatives, know and understand in making a decision for the future that is so important. I noticed that Councillor Pauline Young suggested that perhaps if we sold, benefits might go back into Division 10. The actual fact is that the last decision that we made to go to tender was so that we could cover the cost of building the Isle of Capri Bridge and developing Hodder. Those two things we've managed to do without the sale of the Bruce Bishop car park. So that changes things immeasurably as well. And now, if you'd like to close, Councillor Vorster, please do.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Chair. As I remarked on in my opening remarks, the story of Surfers Paradise and the story of the Gold Coast is a story of change. And I can understand that it's quite a struggle to get to grips with the decision to hold an asset, not change the way we deal with the asset, but also acknowledging that circumstances change. The two themes don't seem to gel. But the reality is, Madam Acting Chair, that one of the ways that our city is changing is that we do have a growing population. And just recently, the city resolved to endorse our draft local government infrastructure plan, the second version of it, which is presently sitting with the state. I don't believe they've signed off on it yet. But what's really instructive about that document, Madam Acting Chair, is it provides us with some forward-looking population projections. And when you look at just the suburb of Surfers Paradise, we're looking at a population of 89,000 people. 89,000 people living, visiting, enjoying Surfers Paradise. resident just in that suburb. And that's saying nothing of the explosive growth that will unfold in Southport and in Broadbeach, two other very high-ranking suburbs for targeted growth, Madam Acting Chair. So Councillor Taylor makes a great point. This is not just an asset for Surfers Paradise, it's an asset for the whole of the Gold Coast. But I think there's a need for an asset like this in the catchment of Broadbeach to Southport, because we're going to deal with a population approaching 250,000 people, and to provide 1,600 odd car parks for their overflow demands, but also for their visitors, I think is entirely reasonable. In other words, Madam Acting Chair, retaining this historical asset, in my view, future-proofs our city. I don't think we need to dispose of it, change our handling of the asset, merely because our city continues to change. Lastly, Madam Acting Chair, I just want to reflect on the fact that we have grappled with this for 15 years, as Councillor De Castro pointed to, but I think it's right that we do. This is a major asset. At times we're told it has an enormous holding cost, carries with it risk. I don't think we would actually be doing our jobs if we did not look at this asset from time to time to make a decision about its future use. I see that as a good thing, not a bad thing. And for the community who would prefer us not to entertain this debate, can I just say it's a necessary debate to be had, because if today this resolution is affirmed, we know that we have made the right decision based on evidence and based on community appetite in the moment. Had we not considered this item, I think there would have been a question mark hanging over this asset, which would have created more uncertainty in the years and decades to follow. Madam Acting Chair, Surfers Paradise will continue to grow. In that local government infrastructure plan I talked about, we do foreshadow the acquisition of some open space within the suburb. I don't know how we will fund the acquisition of that open space in 20, 30 or 40 years. But I can tell you, I would feel more comfortable if on our balance sheet we had an asset like the Bruce Bishop car park generating an income that we could potentially borrow against in order to fund that acquisition. If we didn't have that asset, if we didn't have that income generating capacity, it would have fallen to every ratepayer to plug that gap. So I think it's actually the more financially prudent thing to do. I want to thank you, Madam Acting Chair. I want to thank every councillor who's participated in this debate. I want to thank everyone in the gallery and tuning in online for taking an interest in the decisions that affect us all. Hopefully we can all have some faith in the decision, and the decision is the right one. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll call a division and take the vote. Those in favour?
Councillor Gates, Councillor Hamill, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Bowden-Lumsden, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor McDonald and Councillor O'Neill.
Against?
Councillor De Castro and Councillor Pauline Young.
That is carried. Thank you, councillors. We can get the mayor back.
Okay, councillors, any other items you want to deal separately? Councillor Tozer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We had some discussion and a bit of a chat about item 6.3, and I have some questions and would like to
Okay,
move that.
let's go to 6.3, councillors.
Now, Mr Mayor, it's common knowledge amongst councillors that next, not this coming week, but the following week, all of us are undertaking an Australian Institute of Company Directors course, or quite a number of us are doing that. And I just had a question through you to our new General Counsel. First question, perhaps, that doesn't constitute any sort of conflict of interest by us resolving this today. I didn't believe it did, but I wanted to make sure that that was the case.
Yeah, go ahead. You have to stand.
Through the chair, if you could just repeat the question whether there's any conflict of interest in participating in the Australian Institute of Company Directors course.
No, the decision before us is to amend a policy that relates to that course. Quite a number of us have expressed interest in undertaking that course. I just wanted to get some clarity about, I feel quite confident and I don't think there's any conflict, but I thought I'd better ask that question just to make sure that we're doing it right.
All right, take it on notice.
I'm happy to answer it.
Mr CEO?
I'm happy to answer it. Look, I think it's general business of council and there's no conflict, and I'm happy to put that on the record.
Mr Mayor, with that in mind, I'd like to move the recommendation that was made at committee. We chatted about it at length, that it was important for councillors to have professional development. And so if I have a seconder, I'll just quickly speak to it.
Seconder, Councillor Patterson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Australian Institute of Company Directors is a respected organisation that train directors across across Australia, and it's wonderful that there have been so many of our colleagues that have expressed interest in undertaking that course. Whilst I've never completed the course, sadly, it'll be good to complete it on this occasion, and I was very encouraged by your comments over the years about our council really conducting itself much like a board of directors. This course was supported by you, and I'm glad that we're able to do it, and also that we made a slight amendment in that at the committee where we asked that refresher courses that are also provided by the company directors be offered to councillors during their tenure to make sure that we're up to date with the latest in legislation. As you know, legislation changes regularly, both the Corporations Act, the Associations Act and other, and the Local Government Act from time to time, making sure that we're up to date on those, and those refresher courses are made available to us to make sure we're top of mind. I hope that the councillors will support this today.
Okay, anyone to speak against? Put the motion to you, or in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Any other items separately, Councillor Jones?
No, Mr Mayor, I was going to move the remaining items. Recommendations of the Governance Administration Finance Committee be adopted.
Second to Councillor Patterson. Put the motion to you, all in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. Thank you, Director. Here we go. Economic, tourism and events. We've been waiting for this one. Councillor Castro.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I move the report of the Economy, Tourism and Events Committee meeting, which was held on Wednesday, the 25th of January 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 4, be received.
Second to Councillor Tozer. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Any item you want to deal separately? Councillor Owen Jones.
6.2 to vote against, Mr Mayor.
Okay, 6.2. And in the committee, Councillor Gates, you moved that, yep?
Happy to move it again.
Move. Councillor Tozer, seconded.
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, I'm just taking a motion, that's all.
No, I'm potentially dealing with a conflict of interest, so...
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, Mr Mayor, no, of course I wouldn't interfere with the procedural issue. Mr Mayor, I just want to draw councillors' attention to page 36 of the council minutes from the 2nd of December. It relates to a conflict of interest declaration that I made concerning Bond University, and the title of it, well, there is no title in the minute. It says hotter next stages is the matter of description. Now, I made a declarable conflict of interest at that meeting in order to participate in decisions about the next stages of hotter. I am relying on Council's decision to permit me to participate in decisions pertaining to the next stages of HODA to allow me to participate in this decision today. But I did want to flag it with you, Mr Mayor, and I did want to flag it with my colleagues in case they had a different view or different reading to what was carried on the 2nd of December, which may require a fresh declaration. Otherwise, I'll leave it.
Well, councillors, I don't think this is in particular anything to do with one institute, because I would say that we were going to open to tender, etc. anyway, so it's not one entity. But it's good to bring it up, abundance of caution and that stuff. And Councillor Jones, are you moving this one? Am I right? Oh, Councillor Gates moved. Second to Councillor Tozer. Could you amend that accordingly? And any other question? Councillor Gates, speak on that.
Mr Mayor, I'll just very briefly speak to it. Since Councillor Owen Jones wants to vote against it, I think as a council we're all aware of our financial position, and we're all aware of the grand plan for this HODA precinct. And just on the weekend, to hear it raised by Russell Crowe as being part of the reason behind ACTA's decision to locate their awards here for the next 3 years, it's wonderful to think that the film industry is coming to our city, looking over this precinct and then starting to talk about it all over the world. So it's been great to get to where we are at the moment. But having said that, at committee I also mentioned that we know our financial situation, and I don't think any of us at this point in time would be comfortable supporting a $300 or $400 million spend on this site to deliver what we know it ultimately needs. So the recommendation before us today seeks expressions of interest for other allied opportunities across the site to be developed, and we don't know how yet, or in partnership with whom, or how the funding might be structured. But at least going down this path, we can get some other suggestions for what might be developed on the site. And of particular interest is the digital and screen education facility that I think since this was even first mooted, there's been another university that has expressed interest in developing that facility as well. So there is interest in the community to assist in the further development of this site, and at a time when cost of living pressures are being felt by everyone, I think it's a really important thing to acknowledge and to draw on any opportunities that we can for the future of this site by partnerships whereby we may end up leasing a small parcel of the site for the further development of other entities.
Okay. You want to speak against Councillor Owen Jones?
Mr Mayor, I need to say that there's just elements of this recommendation that I don't support. So we've had a workshop, and Mr Mayor, at the committee, it was all in open. The officers opened up the batting by basically talking about the workshop that previously we hadn't talked about. And I think that there was very much support at the workshop for the B3 site, which is the digital film and television. My personal view is that B1 and B2 sites are getting in front of the master plan and the business plan that we had asked for at that same workshop. So that's why I'm going to vote against it today. It's the first time that I've voted against something in regards to the HODA precinct, and that's how seriously I take the need for us to be very cautious in regards to the master plan. And quite frankly, Mr Mayor, the comments that Councillor Castro made earlier in regards to the disposal of B1, B2 and B3 sites probably sharpened my thoughts today in that regard. So I don't want anybody to be under the misapprehension that I support the sale by disposal of B1 B1 and B2 sites, and even though it's only market sounding, I still think that it's premature to go down this path until we actually see the business case. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Tozer, you want to close? Oh, sorry. Okay, you want to speak on it?
Is that okay, Mr Mayor? Mr Mayor, I actually really love this conversation. I think it's exciting to the idea that we're seeking out some interest from people who might bring large groups of people into our creative precinct. We already have a wonderful outdoor stage, a versatile outdoor stage that hosts really great events. The gallery is growing in interest, and I know that the Pop Masters is coming up just in a few weeks now, and people have already started to talk about that in the community. The idea that some of our sites nearby the creative precinct here, the cultural precinct here, might ultimately be developed such that they bring large volumes of people into the precinct, I think bodes well for not just the cultural precinct, Mr Mayor, but also the Chevron Island precinct and then the Surfers Paradise precinct. We've talked a lot today about Surfers Paradise and the idea that there might be some movement on this site, and we might sound out some people who might bring things like, educational precinct or allied industries. I think is actually really, really exciting. I think it's good for the cultural precinct. I think it's good for Surfers Paradise. I think it's good for Chevron Island, and frankly, I think it's good for this city. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay. I want to speak against the motion. Councillor Cates to close.
Been discussed earlier today, there's no harm in getting more information, and more information definitely leads to better decision making, and by doing some market sounding and getting some expressions of interest, we will all be better informed, and then we can make our decisions.
Debate's closed. Put the motion to you. Division's call. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hamill, Councillor Gates, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Baden-Lumsden, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Forster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald and Councillor O'Neill.
Against?
Councillor Owen Jones.
Carried, super majority. Right, any other items to be dealt separately? Councillor Castro.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Move the balance of the report, Mr Mayor.
All right. Second to Councillor Tozer. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry it, unanimous. Thank you, Director. Consideration notice of motion. Mr CEO, it's nil. Nil. We go to 14. Presentation petition. Councillor Tozer.
Pre-prepared wording.
On the screen.
Mr Mayor, yes, there's been a petition properly made, but I've also received some advice from Director Twine about the matter, and so I'm moving that the petition not be received, but the lead petition be provided a copy or summary of Director Alton Twine's email to the Division 9 office dated 18th of January 2023, and then the petition and related correspondence regarding the matter be provided to the officer in charge of Mudgee Police Station, and a meeting sought to discuss a plan of action. If I have a seconder, I can quickly speak to it.
Seconder, Councillor Castro.
Like many park communities, Mr Mayor, in our city, we have some issues with motorbikes travelling through bushland areas and particularly parkland areas, and this is one of the things that's happening out this way. We've been working closely with Mudgee Police, and an interested resident has gone out and petitioned residents to try to seek counsel to really take responsibility for what is QPS activity. The Queensland Police Service work really hard to try to keep people from being antisocial in our parks by riding bikes or acting inappropriately. Our local law officers work really hard in our city to try to do the right thing and act where they can, but they just can't be mercenaries who stop people on bikes. We don't have the resources or capabilities to do that, and the right people to do that are the Mudgee Police in this particular area or the Queensland Police Services more broadly. Whilst this petition has merit and it's a very important community issue, we need to make sure we're working with the right agencies, and the community needs to understand which agency is responsible for which issue that we face in this community, and that's why I've moved that we inform them accordingly.
Okay. Councillors, I put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry. Unanimous. 15, general business. Nil. 16, other business. We've got to go into close. What's the reason again? matter to be affected. Okay, F. All right. Yes, Councillor Jones.
If we just wanted to move it without any changes or discussion, we wouldn't need to go to closed.
Oh, okay. Someone like to move it? Move Councillor Vorster, seconder Councillor Owen Jones. Councillor Vorster, you want to speak on that?
No, Mr Mayor. I'm sure there will come a time where you have an opportunity to lead that discussion. Thank you.
Of course. Anyone want to speak against? Well, the debate's closed. Motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carry unanimous. Meeting closed, 11:55.